Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're going to take a close look at Sunation Energy, ticker symbol SUNE, as of March 17th, 2025.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at the company's recent performance, against this backdrop of pretty volatile stock market
Yeah.
and within the renewable energy sector.
Right.
And we have some technical analysis to look at. We have some market news and some company announcements that you shared with us. And the goal is to kind of try to pull out the most important information here, to understand what's going on with this company, and try to be really quick and thorough about it. So let's jump in.
So one of the things that's really interesting to note is the sharp increase in Sunation Energy stock price around March 14th. Reports on X, formerly known as Twitter, indicated gains anywhere from 85.25% to over 100%. And this surge really pushed the stock close to that $1 mark, breaking through those previous levels where it had struggled to move higher.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. What was the catalyst for that sudden climb?
Well, the primary driver appears to be the company's announcement on March 14th. That they had fully repaid $9.4 million in secured loans, and they did this ahead of schedule. Now, if we kind of take a step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture, this repayment was made possible by the $15 million equity financing round that they had closed on February 27th.
Okay, so help me understand. What's the real impact of paying off that debt for Sunation?
Well, this move has a pretty significant positive impact on their financials. It eliminates about $3.4 million in annual cash outflows through 2027. So by doing this, they're basically freeing up a considerable amount of capital. And this really strengthens their financial foundation. And it positions them to potentially, invest more aggressively in growth, whether that's expanding their services, developing new products. It really gives them an advantage over their competitors, who might still be carrying a lot of debt.
Makes sense. A stronger financial position can really open up some possibilities.
Right.
But what's happened since that initial spike? Has the stock maintained those levels?
Well, the stock has pulled back somewhat. As of our latest data on March 17th, it's trading around 63.95 cents. Now, it's still up 10.31% over the past 24 hours. But it is down significantly 76.30% over the past month. And this really underscores just how volatile this stock is. The current volatility is actually at 93.21%.
93%. That is a wild ride.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of trading activity during that price surge?
Oh, absolutely. The price spike on March 14th coincided with a really noticeable increase in trading volume, which suggests that there was a lot of interest from retail investors. They were jumping into the stock during that time. It's likely that the volume has decreased somewhat since then, after that initial flurry of activity. That's pretty typical following a rapid price movement like that.
Okay, so looking at the technical indicators, what are they telling us about the stock's recent activity?
Well, considering the recent peak, it's likely that the 50-day moving average is still below that $1 level. However, if you look at shorter-term moving averages, like the 9-day or the 20-day, they probably show a strong upward trend, with the current price sitting above them. This indicates that there is some short-term upward momentum.
But what about that significant drop over the month? How do you interpret that in the context of these shorter-term signals?
Well, that substantial monthly decline suggests that the current price is likely still below the longer-term 200-day moving average. So while we see some short-term strength, we haven't really seen confirmation of a sustained longer-term uptrend yet. And it's important to remember that, past performance isn't always indicative of future results.
Okay, what about the RSI? Where does that stand?
So the 14-day RSI is currently at 33.32. Now, an RSI below 30 is often considered to be oversold territory, which could mean that the recent selling pressure might be exhausted, and we could potentially see a bounce. But it's important to keep in mind that, with a highly volatile stock like this, an oversold reading alone isn't necessarily a guaranteed buy signal. It really needs to be considered alongside other factors, like sustained positive news or increasing volume.
Okay, so let's broaden our view for a second. What's the overall situation in the market right now?
Well, as of March 17th, the broader stock market has been experiencing quite a bit of volatility. We've actually seen the S&P 500 enter correction territory. But interestingly, despite this overall turbulence, we did see that rebound on March 14th, which could indicate that there is some underlying strength in specific areas of the market.
So how does the renewable energy sector, particularly solar power, fit into this uncertain environment?
Well, the renewable energy sector, including solar power, is definitely an area of interest for investors. Amidst this broader market uncertainty, there's this growing global focus on clean energy solutions, and that can sometimes make these sectors more resilient to the traditional market downturns.
So how is Sunation positioned within this renewable energy landscape?
Well, Sunation Energy is specifically focused on solar energy and backup power solutions. They've strategically targeted key markets like New York, Florida, and Hawaii. And they also have potential for growth through acquisitions. They could acquire other regional solar energy firms.
You mentioned acquisitions as a potential growth driver. Based on the information you provided, there aren't any specific details about potential targets, but such moves could offer benefits, in terms of expanding market share or
Yeah.
gaining access to new technologies.
Exactly.
We've talked about the debt repayment and the equity raise. Were there any other significant events that we should be aware of?
Yes, there was another key event that happened. The company appointed James Brennan as their chief financial officer. And this took place on March 5th, 2025.
Interesting. So around the same time as these financial maneuvers, there was also this change in leadership with the appointment of a new CFO. How this personnel change might factor into the company's strategy moving forward, especially with this newly strengthened balance sheet, is something to think about.
Absolutely.
So for someone considering an investment in Sunation Energy, what are some key factors to keep in mind right now?
Well, for short-term traders, the stock's high volatility definitely presents some potential opportunities, particularly if it can sustain its position above that $1 level. However, for those with a longer-term perspective, the alignment with the growing renewable energy industry is definitely a positive aspect, but the lack of recent detailed earnings reports makes it difficult to thoroughly assess their underlying financial performance. So it's a speculative investment at this point, given the volatility. And we would need further confirmation of their financial progress.
Are there any specific price levels to watch closely?
Yes, there appears to be potential support in the 50 to 60 cent range. And on the upside, that $1 mark seems to be a significant area of resistance. If the stock breaks through and holds above $1, that could signal renewed upward momentum. Conversely, if it falls below 50 cents, we might see a deeper correction.
That $1 mark is interesting because in the past, when the price approached that level, there were enough sellers willing to offload their shares to prevent it from going higher. So breaking through that ceiling could indicate a shift in sentiment and potentially open the door for further gains.
It could.
The technical analysis you shared also offered a recommendation for both current holders and potential buyers, right?
That's right. The recommendation was to hold. And for current holders, the advice was to watch closely for either a sustained move above $1 or a drop below 50 cents as potential triggers to adjust their positions. The analysis also suggested that buyers might find opportunities on dips towards support with increased trading volume, while sellers could consider taking profits if the RSI approaches 70 on a retest of that $1 resistance level.
So to sum this all up, what are the main takeaways regarding Sunation as of March 17th, 2025?
The key takeaways are that Sunation Energy experienced a significant price increase, which was driven by their debt repayment and recent equity financing. But this also highlights the volatile nature of the stock, particularly within the context of the broader renewable energy sector and the current market uncertainty.
So you're saying there's this tension between some positive financial developments for the company and the risks that are associated with this high volatility in the market.
Yep.
So how might Sunation leverage this improved financial flexibility to capitalize on this increasing demand for renewable energy solutions? And what indicators should people be monitoring to assess the company's future performance?
That's a great question, and that's definitely something for you to consider as you continue to follow Sunation Energy.
Some really crucial points to consider as you're analyzing this company further. If you found this analysis insightful, please be sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Thanks for joining us on Investing Talk Podcast.